What's up, everyone? My name is Lionel. I'm your host for L3 Productions, and you are watching I Watch You Watch. Today we're covering Married to Medicine. This is season 12. I believe this is episode 14. I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Please like this video. You can also subscribe and leave your comments below. Let's get into this week's episode. All right, y'all. So I'm not going to be before you long, just like the preacher says. I already said what type of mood I think that I was going to be in. I'm not as furious. However, I am just disappointed. And y'all, as far as with the Met Gala. It's 3 days before the Met Gala. Jackie and Simone, they meet and they just kind of catch up on a lot of things. Jackie learned later on regarding to the stuff that Curtis was telling Kirk. When she got wind of it, she talked to Curtis and she tried to explain that he was wrong. And he said, "Oh, I got it." But how he apologized later in the episode, do you got it? Do you got it? As far as this whole Met Gala situation, it's a mess. We're hearing that there's over 100 texts of it's just fire complaints and all that stuff. Nobody knows what's going on. Toya's saying give money here, and they want to know where it's going to. And Toya's not saying any of that. Venues have changed, all that stuff. On the website, they have it listed on there as Toya and Dr. Jackie as being the founders of this Met Gala. And of course, at least the OGs were the founders, and they were highly upset about that. That's supposed to be getting changed. We're finding out that there's going to be scholarships given out to medical students. I thought that was a cool idea. Of course, the newbies are upset that they are not being included. I forgot which one said, but that Toya has to learn how to be inclusive and involve people, and you can. If this is a team effort, then do team things. We move on to Steve and Mimi. Mimi's cooking. She normally does not do it, as we can tell, but she's trying to be more domestic around the home. They're getting a new home. They're actually building one that we're just finding out on the finale. Purveyors of Pop. I think you guys are one of the better production companies, but you are really sucking at your job. We should learn that. You could have aired something or caught something about it at least at the beginning of the season that they are building their new home. We had no clue. We know about their home life's living situation in regards to what Stevie is going through. And I think that was crucial. But you really do things that sabotage and not really establish these new folks. And we don't even know how to gravitate towards them because you don't allow them to flourish and fly. The OGs and vets are getting dried up like raisins. And not in the sense of me age shaming. Their presence on the show. This is so unfair to them, Steve and Mimi. We should have known about this. Now, we do have some PTSD in regards to people talking about dream homes. Because we know that Toya and Eugene's dream home was like, what, 2 or 3 houses ago? per that, they moved about 3 or 4 times before that. It's going to be, is it 8,500 square feet? Also, Stevie is in speech therapy, and his behavior has changed drastically. They can go into grocery stores, and he behaves himself. Even his relationship with his sister is growing. It's off topic, but in topic. This is the stuff that pisses me off with what Funky Dineva said a couple months ago in regards to autistic people. And you can find some YouTube videos of him saying what he said, which was very ignorant, tone deaf. I said deaf. Deaf. And it was very discriminating as to what he said. And basically, they don't need to be in the public. Because there's no other way that these folks should function. And whatever. You may have had a bad experience, cool. But hey, to act like they don't deserve to be in the world is very shitty of him. Behavioral sports. Oh, they want to get him into behavioral sports, Stevie. I think that's what they said. It may have been a different term, but in other ways to help him and just increase his social skills and just his mobility and all of that and how he functions. Eugene and Toya, they did get into the new office. These are things that we kind of forgot about because we have not discussed them in about 10 or so episodes. It's cool that you want to wrap things up, but it's just like the stuff that we've been arguing about and having to deal with has not been important. The new office space is about 20 minutes away from their home. Somehow Toya thinks that this is a win, but he still has to travel to these other places because he's still got to cover everything. If you're not getting into that office and booking him, then there's no reason for you to start complaining again. While they're moving Eugene's stuff into his office, she's quite snippy, and Eugene says, "You're quite bossy right now." Da 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 da. Toya talks about the change of venue. She's really frustrated at how people are treating her, not being accountable for where the money's being spent. Dr. Heavenly in her confessional's like, I have a problem with the leadership. Da 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 da. Show team, whatever it was, not redeemed. Look, it's a mess. I would say that Dr. Jackie, I hold you responsible, but I hold the whole founders team responsible for this foolala. The Whitmores have another sit down. I knew that they were going to have another one because whatever. And basically, they've come in a better way as far as peace. Now everyone's offering up apologies. Simone apologizes first. Did people online or did someone say, "Oh, she doesn't owe them an apology"? I know, but whatever. Michael apologizes, and Cecil apologizes for not having his mother's back. Michael says that we got to lock down and we got to do more. And they say in the confessionals, one thing about Michael is that he will find a way. And all I got to say is that I feel very gaslit. I get that there's emotions in the moment. I just want to be left out of the group chat. Simone, you led us to believe that you wanted a divorce. We ran with that, and maybe we shouldn't have. But if it was in the heat of the moment, I want a divorce. But as I've said before in the other videos that I've done, you told multiple people that. You act like this was the end of the road for you. Now, I am not here pushing for a divorce. The only thing is that we were on this path and we were invested in that path. Leave me out the group chat. You gaslit us this season. And that's how I feel. The Met Gala. The theme is living art. I will say the scenery was pretty good with all the art pieces and all that. Da 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 da. The theme wasn't theming with people's attire. Even Toya. Toya copied the Met Gala's theme from 2 years ago. All she did is just put some paint there. Contessa changed her outfit because Scott thought it was really provocative. And then she came and just did something corny with a picture frame. I am art. I think how I felt if I was in the room, it felt very blackety black, which I did like. We find out that from ticket sales, Toya raised $10,000. And that's going towards the scholarship fund. We found out, at least from the OG veteran doctors, they all gave $2,500, which that would have amounted to 11,000 11,000. We also do know that Angel and Brandy, they gave. Mimi and Steve, they were out still. So you can basically say that The doctors paid for this Met Gala, even though they didn't know where the money was going to. If the ticket sales was one cost, which is 10,000, and then the doctors gave 11,000 plus, I'll say that much. That's my guess on where all the funding came from. They were learning about where the location was 48 hours from when the event was supposed to happen. That's crazy. But we're finding out that Toya said that I wanted to tell them all this stuff during their trip to Jamaica, but I couldn't get a word in. I have no clue what was in that group chat. I really don't. So they awarded 2 med students $5,000 each. Steve and Mimi, they showed up. They were supposed to be sitting at a table, I guess, with Dr. Jackie. However, the rules this year is that you have to buy a ticket if you want to be admitted into the whole thing. Steve and Mimi did have a problem with that because they're like, well, what do you mean I'm sitting at this table? And they also said, look, we could have been buying art and all that, and we could have pitched in. We could have given a whole lot more to the event outside of just a ticket. I don't think that Eugene and Toya are seeing the bigger picture because they wanted to do it their way. Anyways, they bought the tickets. There wasn't any additional monies given by Steve and Mimi. I don't think they had a problem with paying $300. They actually wanted to pay more, but whatever. Y'all wanted it this way, and I guess this is your way to have some type of authority in this thing, and that was that. Simone said something about it's good that you held your composure. You gotta let go of grudges and da 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 da, and you don't do that. That's about it for me. I'm in the situation of just wanting to call out the cast, and I'm talking about the OGs and veterans at your behavior. I'm just turned off. I'm not a fan of Toya, but there's no way. Why would y'all just want to fool a lot? Because you don't respect Toya. Does Toya deserve pushback? Yes. Because she was very difficult and crazy. Making the Met Gala y'all's way of trying to chastise and embarrass her was out of line. And you want people to take you serious? I mean, this is documented on TV. And then what? Toya was talking about getting real sponsors and all that. Who's really going to give to you guys by the way y'all acting on this show? I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted. Dr. Jackie, Toya never should have been over this thing. As I said before, she should have crawled before she walked. Did she do a good job? I think so, as far as what people can see on the outside. The administration is jacked up. And it's cool that she was still able to pull it off. But basically, this is a decorated mess. This season ended up crashing and burning. Y'all had a strong start. Really, it was strong up until it was time for the girls' trip. To know that the season started 8 weeks or so of filming before Dr. Heavenly got there is a shame. Because we only started seeing scenes until Dr. Heavenly showed up. Y'all want Dr. Heavenly gone, but you need production and the cast to get off of their lazy tails and work. Purveyors of Pop and the cast are leaning on her to do the ish that they don't want to do. Y'all act like it's just Dr. Heavenly's fault. No, they depend on her. Dr. Simone went on Watch What Happens Live and said, Michael is spoiled. Andy said, could you give me advice on how I should handle my children? She said, spoil them. But she's like, well, that was the problem between you guys. I know, but my mom, she spoiled me and my sister. You only got one life to live. That's why I say we were gaslit. Because what? That's y'all fave. That's y'all down to earth. That's the truth teller that y'all say that she is. There's going to be a two-part reunion. Thank God. Somebody got some sense. And that's all we need. And we shall see what happens. But that's all I got. Leave your comments below. Like and share if you so do. Subscribe. I got one more thing to say. Michael, so you was at the Met Gala, per your mama, not to speak to Dr. Heavenly. Y'all can say a lot of things about Dr. Heavenly. Y'all can say a lot of things about Dr. Damon. They would never go for any of their children to disrespect the cast. And y'all know that. And then you double down, Dr. Simone, on Watch What Happens Live. That's all I gotta say about y'all's girl. That y'all just... Dr. Heavenly's a lot of things, but some of y'all about Dr. Simone, some of y'all subscribe. And until the next one, peace.